The rain came down like artillery fire. Black clouds boiled over the Afghan mountains, turning the valley below into a churning sea of mud and smoke. Thunder mixed with gunfire, short, sharp bursts echoing off stone walls. A Navy SEAL team was pinned down behind a half-collapsed ridge, radio static screaming in their ears. "Where the hell's our air support?" Chief Walker shouted over the storm. His men were outnumbered, half their comms fried by lightning, and the enemy was closing fast. RPG trails sliced through the rain, detonating close enough to spray the team with rock and shrapnel. "Command silent," Petty Officer Diaz yelled back. "We're blind out here." Walker gritted his teeth. The op had gone sideways fast. What was supposed to be a silent extraction had turned into a death trap. The Taliban fighters had night vision. Heavy ordnance and the high ground. One wrong move, and they'd all be buried before sunrise. Then, through the static, a new voice crackled over the comms. Calm, controlled, avalanche team. "This is Reaper 1. I have eyes on your position." Walker froze. "Say again, Reaper 1. "Copy that, IR's on. Mark your smoke. You're surrounded by 50+ hostiles moving to engage." "Engage? Lady, you're in the middle of a damn storm. Visibility's 0. There was a pause. Then the voice came again. Flat, fearless. Visibility's 0 for them. "Not for me." Walker blinked, heart hammering. That voice didn't belong to any pilot he'd heard before. Not on this frequency, not with that tone. He turned to Diaz. "Pop smoke." "Now." Diaz threw the canister into the open. Purple smoke billowed instantly, whipping through the rain. And then they heard it. A low, thunderous roar cutting through the storm. The kind of sound that doesn't just hit your ears, it shakes your chest. Walker looked up. Through the lightning flashes, a shape broke through the clouds, a beast of titanium and fire, wings wide, twin engines howling. The A-10 Warthog. But this one was different. Darker paint, almost black. Its underbelly glowed faint blue from targeting optics, and the pilot, whoever she was, came in low. "Holy hell," Diaz whispered. "She's flying under the storm." The jet screamed past barely 50 feet above the ridge, rain trailing from its wings like blades. Then came the sound no soldier ever forgets. The deep, mechanical growl of the GAU-8 Avenger cannon spinning up. Brrrt! The night exploded. A wall of tungsten rounds tore through the valley, shredding enemy trucks, bunkers, and mortar nests in seconds. The ground shook. Flames ripped across the hillside. The SEALs watched in awe as precision fire carved the enemy line apart, never once hitting their marked smoke. "Who the hell is that?" Diaz shouted, eyes wide. Walker didn't answer. He just stared upward as the jet pulled a hard climb through lightning, disappearing into the storm clouds once more. For a few seconds, only rain and thunder remained. Then her voice came again over the comms, calm, almost casual. "Avalanche team, your exfil window's open. Move now, I'll cover." Walker grinned, adrenaline surging. "Copy that, Reaper 1. Whoever you are, you just saved our asses." "Don't thank me yet," she replied. "I'm not done." And then the roar came again, distant, rising, as the A-10 dived back into the storm like a predator returning to the hunt. At 30,000 feet, the storm wasn't a wall, it was a living thing. Lightning split the sky in jagged veins. Wind buffeted the A-10 so violently that most pilots would have pulled up, aborted, or radioed home for backup. But not her. Captain Riley Cross kept one hand steady on the throttle, the other flicking across controls with machine-like precision. Her voice, calm as ever, broke the calm silence. Reaper 1 to command. "Target engagement complete. SEAL team moving to exfil." No response, only static. Her jaw tightened. "Command, do you read?" Still nothing. The storm had taken out satellite uplink, but she didn't need command anymore. She'd flown blind before, years ago, in another battle no one spoke about. A brief flicker on her HUD drew her attention. Radar lock warning. She cursed softly. Oh, they're learning. The enemy below wasn't retreating. New heat signatures flared on her scope. Reinforcements moving in from the East Ridge. Trucks, RPGs, maybe even stolen anti-air equipment. She rolled the A-10 left, descending through sheets of rain. The world below blurred into streaks of fire and lightning. As she adjusted her trajectory, a photograph taped beside her radar screen fluttered, a younger version of her, standing with a squadron of men in desert fatigues. One of them, her brother, smiled at the camera, his call sign, Viper, scrawled on his vest. He'd never come home from Helmand Province. And tonight, she wasn't about to let another team go down the same way. In the valley below, the seals were moving, soaked, bleeding, but alive. The purple smoke had faded into mist. Walker barked into his comm. "Reaper 1, this is Avalanche!
East Ridge is heating up!
We've got trucks inbound." Her voice came back instantly. Visual confirmed. "Stay low." "You'll have your window in 90 seconds, Diaz muttered. 90 seconds? That's suicide, Walker just smirked. For anyone but her. Back in the cockpit, Riley flipped her targeting systems to manual. "Let's dance." Her display lit up, a wall of red targets clustering along the ridge. She dropped altitude again, flying lower than regulations ever allowed. Wind shear screamed against the fuselage. "Come on, baby," she whispered, patting the console. "Hold together for me." The A-10 responded with a low growl as she lined up her shot. A missile trail streaked past her right wing, close enough to rock the aircraft sideways. She gritted her teeth, countered with a barrel roll, and leveled out inches above the valley floor. The enemy had fired first. Big mistake. Her thumb pressed the trigger. Brrrr. Tracer rounds poured down like molten lightning, slicing through trucks, fuel lines, and weapon caches. One blast ignited a chain of explosions across the ridge, the entire eastern front lighting up in a wave of orange fire. Through the smoke, the SEALs could see her silhouette, that unmistakable shark-mouth nose art, cannon flashing like thunder. Walker whispered under his breath, "I've seen angels. None of them flew like that." Inside the cockpit, Riley exhaled slowly. Ridge cleared. "Avalanche, you're good to move. Copy that, Reaper 1, seriously. Who are you?" She smiled faintly behind her oxygen mask. "Just someone who doesn't like losing good people." Then, as she banked the jet toward the storm's heart, her radar pinged again. Multiple heat signatures. Airborne. Fast. Her eyes narrowed. "They've got drones," she muttered. "Unmanned interceptors, 6 o'clock high." She gripped the controls tighter. "Guess we're not done yet." The storm outside roared louder, and the A-10 plunged back into the clouds, a lone predator facing an unseen swarm. The radar lit up like a Christmas tree. 6, maybe 7 blips closing fast from the north. Riley's pulse stayed steady. She switched the A-10's sensors to passive to hide her heat signature, eyes scanning through rain and darkness. "Command, this is Reaper 1. Confirm hostile UAV presence. Static again. No command. No backup. Just her, the storm, and 6 enemy drones hunting in formation." Lightning flashed across the canopy, revealing sleek black silhouettes slicing through the clouds. Modified MQ-9s, stolen tech. Whoever was running them had teeth. Riley's voice went cold. "All right then, let's see what you've got." She flipped her master arm switch on. The familiar hum of her weapon systems came alive, missiles, flares, chaff. But the storm made targeting nearly impossible. Thunder rolled, rain lashed the cockpit, and then a missile lock alarm screamed. She yanked the stick hard right, diving beneath a curtain of cloud just as a drone-fired missile streaked past her left wing. The explosion rattled the fuselage, spraying debris across her canopy. "Close," she muttered, teeth clenched. Too close. Down below, the SEAL team huddled behind a rocky outcrop, watching the sky flash in rapid bursts of orange and blue. "What's happening up there?" Diaz shouted. Walker lifted his binoculars. "She's fighting something. Drones, maybe? Alone? Looks like it." They watched as tracer fire lit up the storm, a surreal ballet of destruction. Every few seconds, the sound of her cannon echoed like thunder over the valley. And yet, between each burst, there was silence, precise, deliberate. She wasn't panicking. She was calculating. Who flies like that in this weather? Diaz breathed. Walker didn't answer. He'd seen elite pilots before. None of them moved like she did. Back in the cockpit, Riley's HUD flickered with warnings. 2 drones down, 4 to go. She punched through a cloud bank, flipped the jet inverted, and used the rain-drenched terrain below as her cover. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were alive. Sharp, calculating, fearless. Helios override. Targeting manual. The A-10 system chirped back in a calm female tone. Manual targeting engaged. Accuracy threshold, 30%. Good enough. She toggled her targeting reticle, waiting for the drones to reappear. They came screaming through the clouds, red lights blinking like vultures. She cut her engines just long enough to break radar lock. The Warthog dropped into freefall, a suicide dive if miscalculated by even half a second. Wind tore past the cockpit, lightning flashed, and then, brrrt. 3-second burst. 2 drones vaporized in a single line of tungsten fire. She reignited the engines, pulling up so hard her vision tunneled. Gravity clawed at her chest, but she held firm. 2 left. The last pair split formation, diving in from opposite sides. One launched a missile. The other tried to flank. Riley smirked. Nice try. She fired off flares, let the missile chase the heat signature, then looped straight into the storm's eye. The final drone followed. Inside the lightning's glow, she flipped on her targeting laser. The beam caught the drone's camera like a knife. Through the dark, she squeezed the trigger. Brrrt. The final drone exploded. Midair, the shockwave echoing through the thunderclouds like a victory drum. Below, the seals ducked as burning fragments rained from the heavens. Walker stared skyward, rain dripping down his helmet. That's not an airstrike. That's a damn artist, Diaz whispered. Reaper 1, whoever you are. I hope Command knows what they've got. Walker frowned. That's the thing, Diaz. He looked at the sky, now glowing faint red from the burning wreckage. I don't think Command knows she's even up there. In the cockpit, Riley checked her systems, nearly out of fuel, rounds, and time. But the seals were moving. Reaper 1 to Avalanche. You're clear to reach the canyon pass. Keep radio silence for the next 5 mics. I'll keep them looking up. Walker's voice came back, quiet and sincere. Copy that. Reaper. Thank you, she smiled faintly. Just doing what I promised. The storm was breaking, but the silence that followed was heavier than the thunder. Riley's A-10 cut through the thinning clouds, engines growling low. The cockpit smelled of ozone and burnt metal. Warning lights glowed faintly on her panel. Low fuel, weapon count, minimal, communications unstable. She didn't care. The seals were alive. That was all that mattered. Reaper 1 to Avalanche, she said into the static. Confirm exfil at Canyon Pass. Walker's voice came through, faint, distorted. Confirmed. Package secure. Moving now. You still with us? A small smile curved her lips. Always. She angled the A-10 west, scanning her thermal map. The storm had shredded every uplink. But one signal stood out. A secure channel broadcasting from a base she knew too well. Command North. Iron Range. Her old base. The one that had grounded her 6 months ago. 2,000 miles away. Inside the Iron Range Operations Center, red alerts flared across every screen. A young technician spun in his chair. Sir, unidentified aircraft still transmitting on a locked Helios channel. Signature matches A-10 Unit 317. Colonel Mason's head snapped up. 317? That can't be right. That jet's inactive. Not anymore, sir. The colonel strode to the main monitor. The feed showed a blurry transponder tag. Reaper 1. His voice dropped. Cross. Back in the skies, Riley adjusted her flight path toward friendly airspace. Her hands trembled slightly as the adrenaline faded. She opened her wrist display and checked her biometrics. Heart rate high, oxygen normal. But her focus stayed locked. Helios system, she murmured, tapping the console. Send debrief packet to command on secure channel. Nothing. The screen flickered. Then came a synthetic reply through her comms. Transmission blocked by higher authority. Her stomach dropped. Higher authority? Before she could respond, a new voice crackled into her headset, smooth, authoritative, and all too familiar. Reaper 1, this is Iron Range Control. You are flying an unauthorized mission. Respond immediately. Riley's fingers froze on the stick. She knew that voice. Colonel Mason. Reaper 1, do you copy? She exhaled slowly. Loud and clear, sir. Captain Cross, you're in restricted airspace. You were relieved of flight status months ago. What the hell are you doing out there? Her tone stayed calm. Saving your SEAL team, sir. You're welcome. Don't get smart. You violated direct order, stole an asset, and breached a classified flight network. You realize that's court-martial territory? She smirked, eyes on the horizon. So is letting a special forces unit die for a political mistake. I picked the lesser crime. Static filled the channel for a moment. When Mason spoke again, his voice had hardened. Return to base immediately. 2 interceptors are already in the air. Don't make this worse. She glanced at her radar. 2 F-16s closing fast. Copy that command, she said quietly. Course set for home. But her hands didn't move. Down below, the SEALs were loading into their extraction chopper. Walker kept his headset tuned to her channel, hoping to catch one last transmission. All he heard was Mason's voice. Reaper 1, you are ordered to power down and prepare for escort. Repeat, power down, Riley cut in, her tone flat. Negative, control. Not yet. There's something in that valley. Data transmitters, not local. I'm finishing the job. Cross, you stand down now. But her comms cut to static. In the ops center, Mason slammed his fist on the table. She's going rogue. A junior officer hesitated. Sir, should we scramble more fighters? He stared at the radar, jaw tight. No, if she's really found something, I need to know what it is before we shoot her down. High above the battlefield, Riley banked hard toward the mountains, fuel running dry, the sun just beginning to burn through the clouds. On her radar, faint pings appeared, encrypted uplinks, buried deep in the valley. Not enemy signatures. Something else, she frowned. That's not Taliban tech. Whatever it was active, and she was the only one still up here to find out. The A-10 rattled as it descended through thin air. Riley's fuel warning blared in red, but she ignored it. The uplink signals below were faint, ghostly pulses hidden beneath layers of encrypted static. She zoomed in. The coordinates showed an abandoned mining valley, supposedly cleared 5 years ago. Yet the data bouncing off her sensors wasn't old. It was fresh. Computer, isolate and decrypt source frequency, she ordered. The onboard AI processed the command, voice calm and precise. Signal origin, surface level, transmitting tactical logs. Encryption, U.S. command grade. Riley's brow furrowed. Command grade? Out here? Her hands tightened on the controls. If that signal really came from her own side, it meant someone inside had been running off-book operations and covering their tracks under friendly transponders. She switched channels. Command North, this is Reaper 1. I've located multiple uplinks transmitting classified intel off the grid. You copy? Static. No response. Then a sharp click broke the silence. Reaper 1, this is Iron Range. You are not authorized to scan that region. Abort and return to base. Her stomach turned cold. Mason's tone wasn't just angry now, it was nervous. Sir, those are US-coded signals. I can see the timestamps. They're from within the last 24 hours. Someone's leaking mission data. Captain, that's an order. Power down your systems now. Riley hesitated. The radar showed the interceptors less than 20 miles behind, closing in fast, but her gut told her the truth. If she shut down now, that data would vanish forever. She dropped altitude, skimming the ridgeline. Dust kicked up in a golden trail behind her. Her A-10 sensors picked up a metallic glint on the valley floor. Not rock, but steel. Zooming in, she saw it. A camouflaged satellite uplink, marked with the insignia of a defense contractor she knew. Helios Dynamics, her old employer. Her pulse spiked. No way. Back when she'd been grounded, it was Helios who had pushed for her suspension, after she'd exposed irregular drone strike coordinates tied to their tech. Now, those same people were hiding in a dead valley, siphoning live combat data. She exhaled hard. Not this time. Riley switched to manual and armed the last of her Maverick missiles. Target, Helios uplink site. Range, 200 meters. Her HUD blinked yellow. Restricted target. She overrode it. Authorization Cross Delta 9. The AI hesitated. Warning. Strike on this target will constitute direct engagement with Allied infrastructure. Confirmed, she said coldly. Fire. 2 white streaks tore from her wings. The explosion that followed lit the entire valley like sunrise. Shockwaves rippled through her cockpit as smoke billowed upward. The uplink icons on her radar blinked out, one by one. But before she could celebrate, a sharp tone pierced her headset. Missile lock warning. Damn it. She pulled hard left, straining against the G-force. The interceptors had arrived. 2 F-16s slicing through the sky, their trails curling behind her. Reaper 1. Disengage immediately. One of the pilots barked through comms. You just destroyed a U.S. installation. Her voice was steel. Then maybe the U.S. shouldn't be selling its soldiers out. Back at Command North, Mason's staff scrambled around him. Sir, uplink destroyed. Transponder logs erased. We're blind to her feed. Mason's hands trembled slightly. He turned to his aide. Get me the Pentagon. Now. The aide hesitated. Sir, are we covering this up? Mason didn't answer. He just stared at the smoke plume on the satellite feed, then muttered, She's just lit a match in a powder room. In the cockpit, Riley steadied her breathing. Her engines were overheating, her fuel nearly gone, and the F-16s were closing fast. But through the static, another voice cut in. Faint, broken, but familiar. Reaper 1. This is Avalanche. You did it. Transmission stopped. Whatever they were doing, it's gone. Walker. She smiled weakly. Copy that, Avalanche. Tell Command they can court-martial me later. Negative, he replied. You're not going down alone. Sending beacon. Just hang on. Her cockpit shuddered as she leveled out, the horizon glowing orange beneath her. She'd just taken on her own government and won one battle. But the war was far from over. Smoke trailed from the A-10's engines like twin scars across the dawn. Riley's hands gripped the stick tightly, keeping the bird steady as alarms flashed across her HUD. Fuel critical. Hydraulic pressure failing. Return to base. Impossible. The 2 F-16s shadowed her at a distance. She could see their silhouettes in the morning light. Sleek. Silver, watching. Then one of the pilots came through her comms. Voice tight but controlled. Reaper 1, this is Falcon Lead. Command's gone silent. We're awaiting orders. Orders? She said, half a laugh, half exhaustion. You're waiting for someone to decide if you should shoot me down or not, right? Silence. Riley exhaled slowly, her mind strangely calm now. Don't bother. I already know the answer. Back at Iron Range Command, chaos reigned. Dozens of officers crowded around screens filled with static. Mason stood at the center, headset pressed to his ear. Get me a direct line to those interceptors, he barked. Sir, we've lost uplink control, a technician stammered. Someone's cut command relay authorization. We're not in charge anymore. What do you mean, not in charge? Before he could finish, the massive monitor behind him flickered, switching to a live feed. 3 insignias appeared across the screen, each belonging to a different branch. Army, Navy, Air Force. Then 3 faces came into focus. Generals. General Royce spoke first, his tone low and deliberate. Colonel Mason. This is an internal security intervention. Effective immediately, your authority is suspended. Mason's face went pale. On what grounds? Royce's eyes were cold. On the grounds that your command has been compromised by Helios dynamics. The leak Captain Cross just exposed runs through your authorization codes. Gasps rippled across the room. Mason's jaw tightened. That's impossible. She went rogue. She destroyed evidence of treason, another general cut in sharply, and saved an entire SEAL unit in the process. The 3rd general leaned forward, voice heavy with restrained fury. You grounded her because she got too close to the truth. You tried to bury her file, but Cross wasn't just a pilot, Mason. She was embedded under Joint Special Command. She outranked you the moment she took off. The colonel staggered back, disbelief flooding his face. She's what? Commander Riley Cross, General Royce confirmed. Naval Special Operations Liaison, on assignment to monitor Helios interference. And she just did what half this building was too afraid to. Out in the sky, Riley's cockpit crackled with a new transmission. Reaper 1, this is General Royce. Stand by for escort. You are clear. I repeat, you are clear, she blinked. Sir, say again? You've done enough for one day, Commander. Bring your bird home. Her throat tightened. Copy that. The F-16s shifted formation, sliding to her flanks like protective wings. For the first time in hours, she felt safe. She glanced at the valley below, now just a cloud of smoke and dust. Somewhere under that wreckage, years of corruption had been buried. She whispered to herself, "End of transmission." Hours later, the SEAL extraction chopper landed at a secure airfield. Walker limped out, scanning the horizon, and there she was. Riley stood by the scorched remains of her A-10, helmet under her arm, eyes fixed on the distant sky. The wind tugged at her flight suit, streaked with grime and blood. He walked up slowly. "Heard you grounded yourself again," she smirked. "Yeah, this time voluntarily," he shook his head. "They're saying 3 generals landed just to meet you. That true?" She shrugged. Maybe they finally figured out who was actually following orders. Walker laughed softly, then saluted. "You didn't just save us. You blew the lid off the biggest cover-up since Ghost Hawk." Riley returned the salute, then looked back at the sunset. Guess history needed a little rewrite. As the sky turned crimson, news drones buzzed overhead, broadcasting the story already sweeping across the world. Whistleblower pilot exposes defense contractor scandal. Unknown SEAL operative identified as Commander Riley Cross. Hero or traitor? The woman who changed everything. She closed her eyes and breathed deep. The war hadn't ended. But for the first time, the truth was finally free.